Hey friend, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll show you from my experience how to become a top 1% data scientist. So all of us, when we just started our data science journey, we were only thinking about technical things. Go learn Python, machine learning, SQL, Excel, a bunch of tools, but we neglect a few things. And the problem is data scientists are not just behind their screens, hiding from the world and just delivering some fancy code and fancy machine learning snippets, and that's all. That's not true. Data scientists do way more than that. They communicate their findings. They understand the business. They speak to stakeholders. They collaborate with a lot of people. All those skills are somewhat neglected by people that want to become data scientists. So let me share with you in this video how to stand out and get into the top 1% data scientists today. First, you need to understand domain knowledge. When you're a data scientist, you operate in a specific domain. If you work in a company that does some software consulting, then you are in the software domain or the software industry. If you operate in healthcare, then it's healthcare. If it's finance, then finance, etc. You need to understand your domain, and you can't skip doing the research. Go watch some YouTube videos, understand the trends on that topic, and all those things. Be aware of what's going on in your domain, because you'll be delivering insights that will help make informed decisions in that industry. So you need to stay on top of it. You can do simple research if you like reading, go read on the internet, buy journals, watch videos, watch TV. Don't go too deep into things, but you need to stay informed so that you are always delivering insights that are valuable to your people, to your stakeholders, to your employer, to people you work with. If you do freelancing, to your clients, you always need to be ahead of the curve. So if you do freelancing and you work on a bunch of different industries, always go and do your research before starting a project. It's tempting to go and jump on the whatever data set you have, start writing some code, but you miss that point and that leverage where you can add even more value to the company by just skipping understanding the domain knowledge. So don't do it. Think of domain knowledge as an unfair advantage that you bring to the table. So for example, if we have a project where we work in e-commerce, understanding the user and the way they buy, the way they think, and the way they approach their purchase in general in a specific industry, for example, let's say the clothing for women age 30, 40 in some sort of specific fashion. If there are 5 data scientists and you're the only one that went and dug into those resources, understanding how women think, maybe for the past 50 years, how that evolved and these things, when you're going to do your analysis, you'll be spotting some things that others won't see. And therefore, you'll be asking the right questions and putting the right hypothesis where you're going to get more and more insights that will be valuable to your client, to your employer, or whoever you work for. So just remember, domain knowledge, put it as a thing, it's a soft skill. It's not technical, as you see, it's doing your research, but it gives you an edge over everyone else. Next is storytelling with data. Usually data scientists stick to being very technical, and the job is very technical, that's for sure, and neglect a lot of soft skills. We talked about domain knowledge, and now we're talking about storytelling with data. What does that mean? In your project, you have a bunch of data. Usually it's quite messy, you have to clean it up, you have to analyze it, you have to interpret it, visualize it, and share it with your stakeholders. This is usually a report or dashboards or whatever you're showing to them, depending on the project you work on. However, many data scientists stick to being very technical and just giving some insights. They're not creating a story around the data, because there is a story. The data came from somewhere, was analyzed in a way. You ask some questions and you try to answer them via your analysis. There's a story in there. And via that story, you can share your findings in a better, more structured way that is more appealing to your client or your stakeholder. So remember that data can be storified and should be storified. And the best data scientists, they don't waste their time in the technical stuff, especially when they present the work, because most people wouldn't even understand what they're saying, but they try to bring a story and explain what was before, what's happening today, and what could potentially happen tomorrow, which is the predictive part of data scientists. You should also understand your audience. As a data scientist, it is fundamental for you to understand the audience you speak to. Speaking to your line manager, speaking to a tech manager, speaking to a colleague, speaking to your girlfriend, boyfriend, your mom, a client, someone just outside selling fruits is different. and you have to adapt your language based on who you're talking to. That's called a persona. Persona is just an entity. A persona is basically a segment of people that have a set of skills. You can't speak to someone in marketing and explain to them all the complexity of your code, because honestly, they wouldn't even understand, and even if they did, they wouldn't care. But your senior data scientist boss that you work for, maybe, that person, obviously you can go as much in detail because they can give you some insight on your work. So always remember who you're speaking to and adapt to them. For example, keep it easy. If you're reporting your findings to 3 different people in your company, you have your manager, you have the senior data scientist, and you have the CEO. The 3 repos will be different. The CEO will get something very quick where they get the results. No need to speak too much technical. The senior data scientist would want everything. Maybe they want to go through the code, understand what you did and what you didn't do, and maybe find where they can improve it. And your manager, they want the finding with a few visuals, nice, quick explanations, but just keep it short. You see how the power of understanding who you speak to end up directly affecting the quality of your work and the story you're going to tell them. Like each persona will have a unique story, but based on the same results. In order to storify your data, just use a simple framework called the what, why, and how. So what is the problematic? Why are you solving it? And how you did solve it. Keep it easy. Structure in 3. The what is the problematic, the hypothesis, something they want to validate. The why, what do we solve by doing all this analysis? And the how is the steps that you took to implement this solution. Very basic, and it always helps. Remember that a data scientist can also be an advisor. You're not just there behind the screen, no one can see you, just coding. You know, we have this vision of data scientists being behind screens in the dark and stuff with 5 different screens and writing code all day, every day. Some parts of our job are like that, but it's not always the case. A data scientist can be an advisor, can also be a data strategist. And if you put yourself in that mindset where you can become that valuable to a company, then you'll end up earning more. You'll get more responsibilities, and you'll just go from just being a data scientist that codes to a data scientist that can make decisions and help the C-suite and the executives make better and informed decisions. Remember, you're not just there to write code, but you're there to help the business overall. We spoke about domain knowledge, and we talked about storifying your data, storytelling with the data, and we use the framework, the what, why, and how. The next point here will be to have an analytical mindset and problem solving. And this is a very important soft skill, because as a data scientist, you're doing analytics. You're solving problems for a specific audience. And that's why people pay you. They pay you a lot of money to do those things. And if you're not a problem solver and you don't think in an analytical way, you're wasting your time. Because it's good to know a lot of libraries, a lot of frameworks, and try to write some cool code. But then, if you don't even understand what you're solving, if you don't understand what you're bringing to the table, then you're just wasting everyone's time. So remember, domain knowledge, storytelling with the data, and also become a real problem solver via analytics, because a data scientist at the end of the day does a lot of analytics, so that's your domain of expertise. If you're curious to know how much data scientists earn in the UK, I've made a full video on the topic just here. Give it a watch.